All right, guys, welcome back to the class. And we are going to start with week number 4 summary class. And let's just say week 4. All right, so basically, if you remember last week, we have completed till week number 2 ideally, and we have understood how Selenium works. But from now on, we are, today I'm going to get started with a few things on HTML layout, and then we'll go to week number 3 section where we have if-else and constructors and absolute and relative expert. Okay, so let's quickly go into the week number 2, and we will move on to the just a minute. Let's just see what we have here. Okay, so let's just get started with this part. All right. Okay, so understanding HTML structure. Okay, we have to deal with HTML all the while from in terms of test automation. Why? Because we are going to interact with web applications over and over again. Okay, if you look into an HTML structure, HTML meaning hypertext markup language, if you look into that, you will see that it follows a particular structure. Okay, HTML body, and then there is a tag. Okay, for example, P is a tag for paragraphs. A is a tag for anchor. Okay, so there are two things that we will be looking at in the HTML structure, and they are tags and attribute values. So there are tags meaning div is a tag. All right, P is a tag. All right, span is a tag. A is another tag. Okay, and along with this tag, we have something called as attributes. So when I say A, which is a anchor, and let me write it here. A, which is an anchor, and then it has an attribute called as href equals to, I don't know, maybe www.amazon.com, and then you say, you close this anchor tag, and then you say Amazon, and then you complete the anchor tag by /a. When you say that, it means you are trying to create a link, a simple link that is named as Amazon, and when you click on that link, it takes you to Amazon.com. That is how you read a HTML structure. So in this case, what are we seeing? We are saying there is a tag, which is an anchor tag, and it has an attribute, okay, which has a value. Now, any HTML component can have one or more HTML attributes. Any tag can have one or more HTML attributes. So our motive in terms of test automation is very simple. Simple is that we have to understand the HTML structure of the page, rather HTML structure of the component that we are trying to work with, and using a system called as XPath or CSS selector. Okay, we are required to find this component which we will be working uniquely in the whole page. So our idea is that we will be identifying this particular component so that we can interact with it. So we can write an XPath or a CSS selector using which we can interact with one of these components, ideally. This is our whole idea in terms of learning the HTML structure. We will see that this same structure we can use for mobile apps as well. We can see that we are going to, for any automation, for example, right? We can use the same structure and we can identify an element uniquely in the page, okay? So this is what is there in a nutshell. So let me move on from there, okay? Okay, so you see, HTML always is created in a particular tree structure. So you have a window, you have document, you have HTML. So HTML is basically the root. You go to any website, okay? You go to amazon.co.uk and let's go and just say inspect, all right? You right click on the page and you see inspect, and then you see this elements tab and you scroll to the very top and you see what? You see HTML, that's the root element from where a page is created, correct? So, sorry. So let's move on to this place. HTML is a root, and then from there, it follows a particular model, okay? A model which is called as document object model, DOM, document object model. As per this document object model, there is a particular pattern that is used in order to create this HTML page for us. For example, we have a head, and we have a body. Okay, in the head, we are going to mention few stuff. What are those things? Things like title of the page. For example, if you see amazon.co.uk in the tab of your browser, of your website, then that information is basically the title. If you come to this place and if you say head, and if you expand this, and if you scroll down a little bit, you must see a section called as title. Look, that's the title, right? Title, amazon.co.uk, blah, 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 right? In the head section, there are a few things that we should be setting up. For example, our title, for example, certain scripts, which are nothing but JavaScript. We can set a CSS locators, CSS scripts, so that our page can look like the way it is looking right now. Okay, so all those information, JavaScripts and CSS information and everything, you see, link style sheet. So it is basically taking you to some kind of a style sheet where this page is, designed, using which this page is designed. Okay, that is what we keep in the head section. And in the body section, then we have the actual component of the website, the elements that you are actually going to interact with, because whatever you have in the head, they are kind of metadata. Okay, it doesn't really, I mean, you don't really see them, right? I mean, there is no component that you can interact with them, right? They're all meta informations. But this is where you actually are seeing the components that you can interact with. You can interact with an image, a paragraph, or something like that, an anchor, a button, a list box. So that is basically a document object model. All right, let's move on. And we will go to the understanding browser dev tools. All right, so this is very, very important. All our automation runs from browser dev tool. For us, we ideally will look at two different tabs, primarily elements tab, and then we will understand about network, which is going to be listing out all our network calls that we are making when we are dealing with a particular web page. Okay, network calls are very, very important because that is basically shows what exactly is happening in the website. For example, let me quickly perform a simple search here. All right, so what I'll do is in my search box here, I'm just going to, I just clicked on it. I didn't do anything. You see, I just clicked on it. As soon as I made a click, there is a network call that was made to the backend. You see that? As soon as I clicked on it, these data were pre-populated for me. How are we getting this data? There's a reason how are we getting this data. The reason is that we are making a web service call to the backend of the system, and that system is giving me back these information. For example, these information is coming back to me depending on what kind of components or what kind of items I searched earlier. So I searched for all of these stuff. That is why this is listing out for me. If you see in the solutions web service call, you can see that I am getting a response back. So this response that comes to me, it comes to me in a JSON format. I spoke to you about JSON format, I think last week. Let's try to understand this, okay? JSON formatter, all right? And what I'll do is I'll quickly go inside the JSON formatter, and then I will quickly paste this information here and validate. Okay. Right. Now, if you see this section, you see, I pasted the whole JSON here and getting back the response. So you see solutions, and these are the solution blocks. You see how many solutions I got? Every one of them is a solution object for me. Whatever you see in the curly braces is an object for me. And if you see one of them, it is basically saying suggest type is keyword solution, type is past searches. Look, it's very clearly telling me that, all right? It is having some reference tag. I don't know what is this used for. Scopes, alias, electronics, and photos. So basically they are trying to understand what type of elements I am interested in. Why? Because then they can show me those informations later, correct? And then probably a few other stuff here, right? But I'm just trying to, yeah, here, the value. Kitless filter for ZB10. That was the value. And this solution is basically listed under the scopes, right? Then what type of item I'm interested in, so that they can use my what do you call is search history and show me solutions in future, so that I can buy more. Correct? So that is what is Amazon doing, and Amazon is doing this because there is a web service call. So what I'm trying to say is that these two elements are, these two tabs are mostly what we will be working with. Okay, there are a few more tabs which you will be working with to a certain extent, and I have given you a better understanding in the video call. You can take a look into it. But for now, let's move on to the next part. Different tabs and dev tools. I told you them already. Understanding HTML tags, very important. So as I said, there are different type of tags that we will be dealing with. We will be dealing with anchor tag, input tag, select tag, okay, div tag, span tag, right? So for now, I understand that it is not really possible for you to remember all these tag information, like what these tags are meant for. But then when you start looking at it over and over again, you will very easily understand that what is this particular tag is made for. Why are we using that tag? Okay, we have table tag, we have a div tag, and so on and so forth. So we will be working with all of them. All right. The idea is simple. We have to know them so that we can create an XPath that can work with them. Make sense? All right. So understanding HTML attributes. As I said, anchor is a tag and it has an attribute called href. Again, you can see this anchor tag is having another attribute called as class. Make sense? So a tag can have multiple attributes. So what we have to learn is we have to learn the art of XPath using which we can do what? We can basically do permutation and combination to figure out which particular filter is working out for us, and then we can find that element uniquely in the page. It is a combination of anchor and href and other attributes that we will be using to find the element uniquely in the page. Okay. You see, okay, there's one more thing you have to understand, that the attributes are different for different tags. For example, anchor has an attribute called href, which is basically a link, but href attribute is not going to make sense for an input tag. Input is what? Input is basically a text box. There is no way you can click on a text box and it will take you to a link. That is not how it should run, right? So for example, input is having tags like value, sorry, attributes like value, and then name, and then tab index, so on and so forth, ID, type, okay? These are relevant attributes for input tag, okay? Finding element. This is something is very, very important. Finding element. So in Selenium, we can find an element using a method called as find element. All right. So there are a few things that we have to understand here. Let me quickly draw this for you. So this is the driver. If you remember, in the last class, we were talking about Chrome driver. So driver is this guy, okay? And then we have find element. What is that? Find element is a method, correct? Find element is a method that is coming from the WebDriver object. This is the element, or this is the method which will let us choose different locator strategy to find an element. For example, find element by ID, right? How do we want to find the element? For example, if I have an element that has an ID attribute, for example, I have an input box and I have an ID equals to, I don't know, maybe something, 1, 2, 3, 5, and then we'll give some name, say Wisdom QA, something like that, right? So if this is the ID of this input box, okay, there are two things that we have to understand. Number one, is this ID is a dynamic ID. Dynamic ID, meaning what? Meaning as soon as you refresh the page, the ID is changing. If that is what it is, then we should not use the ID as our selector, as our XPath selector. We should not use it. Why? Because you need to create a object, you need to create an XPath that is going to be persistent. Okay, how many ever times you open up your application, this value has to be persistent. If it is persistent, only then you can use it. But if that is not the case, then we cannot use it. For example, we are presuming that this is a persistent data. Okay, so then if input ID is 234 Wisdom QA, then I can use this ID and then we can find the element, correct? So, which is why I'm saying driver.find element by ID, and then here you pass on the ID information. Okay, so this entire section is basically used to find the element uniquely in the page. Once you find the element uniquely in the page, then you are performing an action on top of it, which is a send keys. This is an action. The first part is finding, second part is an action. Okay, and then we can find the element in the page, and then we can perform an action. Okay, so let me actually even break it down further. What I want to do is, let me quickly take you to my, where is my,
So Vic,
yeah, go on.
you said with the ID, it should be dynamic. So how?
No, it can be dynamic. It can be dynamic. It is not the case always that it will be dynamic. It
Okay.
can be dynamic depending on the application that you're working. Yes, tell me.
So how do you said if it changes, we shouldn't use
Yeah,
it.
so we will not be using ID then. We will be using other attributes for that tag, which is why we have to learn XPath. It is absolutely possible that we will not even use that input tag directly. We will use other components around the input tag to find that input tag. You understand?
Yeah. So how do you know that it changes when you open the page? Is that
because when you open the page,
Mhm.
you will notice another number.
Okay, right. All right.
The value will keep on changing.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is possible. It's absolutely possible. I'll show you some of the IDs in amazon.co.uk where the values are changing as soon as you refresh the page.
Okay.
You know, after a certain time, you will figure out by your own that this is a dynamic ID or not, just by looking at the structure of it. You can very well understand that. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's move on to the next part. Just a minute. I think I'm not sharing the whole screen. Hold on. Okay. Yeah, now I'm sharing the whole screen. All right, so let's move on to this particular section, which is WixRoomQA week 4. Let me quickly create that general project. Next, week 2, week 4. Right. Good stuff. New, not new, sorry. What I'll do is I'll quickly, my bad. I should have created a Java project. New project, Java project. Next. Okay. Week 4. Summary class. Week 4 summary class. Okay. I'll say finish. All right. Next, what I'll do, I'll add my dependency. You remember I added a dependency on this. That is the Selenium WebDriver dependency. So Java build path under class path, add external jars. And this one, and open and apply and close. Good stuff. So we did that as well. All right. Now, once we have all of them, next, what do? We are going to create a simple package, new package, and let's name the package as test. All right. And in this test package, no module info, I don't need them. Let me delete the module info. Then I'm going to say new class. Okay, I'm going to create a main class here. We'll just say Selenium test. And this is going to be our main class. And we did that. Good stuff. All right. Now I'm just going to copy and paste few syntax from the previous class itself. So I'll go in here and just this much, nothing more than that. I'll copy and paste it here. All right. So what do we have? We have Chrome driver, driver.get amazon.co.uk, and we are going to click on the accept cookies button. Okay. And here we are going to create a basic test case first. Okay. The test case would look like this. Let me take you to my website, which is here. And then what we do, we come into the page I'm not going to sign in or something like that. I'll just come to this page. Once I come to this page, okay, Aaron left, is it? She's joining back. What happened to her? Okay. So the idea is that we are going to come to this page. Once we come to this page, we are going to perform a simple action, that is to search for some element over here, and then we will just get the search result, something like that, right? So firstly, we have handled the cookies, and then let's try to find out the XPath of this particular element. How to do that? Very simple. Go and select on this, and as soon as you select this guy, so you first click on this inspect tool, click on the inspect tool, go to the element you want to inspect, and that will take you to the respective element on the console, correct? Just right there. And when you are here, then you see that what is that element all about? Or you can do other way around. You right click on this element, first click on this element, right click on this element, and then say inspect. It will take you to the same place. Okay. Now, once you are here, then what do? You basically see what is this element all about. For example, I'm seeing it is an input tag. It has a type called text. It has an ID called 2-tab search text box and few more stuff. Now, this ID is never changing. Why? Because I have seen this ID for years now. They're not changing this ID. It's very understandable. Okay, so I can use that ID, correct? But you see, there are some IDs here. For example, input ISSCR ID, ISS prefix. There's a chance that these IDs may change or may not. Let me find out some ID, or probably I'll show you some of them later on that will have a specific pattern, which will be, for example, this one, syspixel R2. I'm not sure if it's going to be a persistent ID or not, because it has some meaningless information. Some IDs will have some name that you can very easily look at and figure it out. But the idea is that you should not stick to just IDs. My whole idea is that not every component that we will be trying to deal with will have an ID. So our idea is that we will not use only ID. We will try to understand how XPath works, and we can then figure out how to pin down that component however it is possible. However it is possible. So let's move on to the inspection. This is an input box and it has an ID. Okay, so you see there are multiple ways I can find this element. Number one, I can show you that I can just do a Control F on my keyboard, just here, and then you see this this small text box popping up, right, just right below the Elements tab. This is the place where you will write your XPath, and you will see whether your XPath is working or not. Okay, we always have to write XPath from scratch. You're not going to use any tool to do it, because a lot of times these tools may or may not work. Okay, so try to understand how XPath works. Don't blindly use a tool. Okay, there are some tools available for XPath inspection, but I don't prefer to use them because I like to control the way XPaths are created. So number one, what I'll do is I'll just say ./. Now, whatever I'm writing here, I will explain why I'm writing them in the later stage. But for now, I'm just trying to find an input tag which has an ID called 2-tab search text box, right? So I'll just say I'm looking for an input tag, and within let me actually increase the font. Yeah. So I'm looking for an input tag, and then I'm looking for ID. Okay, and the ID value is this. And then I close that. And as soon as I do that, as soon as I use my XPath, you see, as soon as I am using this is not a ID. whatever I wrote here, it is an XPath. In the XPath, I'm saying choose the ID attribute which has a value this, correct? So this is an XPath, right? Now this XPath is showing me this element uniquely in the page. How do I know that? I know that because I am seeing this information. You see that? 1 of 1. That means this element is found only once. I mean, this particular XPath is finding this element only once in the whole page. Correct? That's how we understand. So you see, you don't need to always use just ID. You can use various combinations. For example, I'm not looking for just an ID. Maybe I can just find an attribute like placeholder. Okay, so we'll just say at placeholder, and we will see the value as this guy. Correct? And you see, even with that, I'm able to find the element uniquely in the page. Or if I want, I can combine multiple IDs or multiple information. For example, I'm looking for a placeholder and I'm looking for an ID. And you just see, I didn't even say the ID value. I didn't even say that. I just said, I'm looking for an element which has a placeholder value of search.amazon.co.uk. And at the same time, that tag is also having another attribute, which is an ID. That's it. And I'm able to find the element. So this entire understanding of XPath is very, very crucial for your test automation career. And I will go through it over and over and over again. But for now, just let us focus on the ID as such, and then we will just continue the discussion. So the discussion is this. So I just go to click on the cookies, and then I just say driver.find element, and then we just say by ID, because I'm not choosing XPath here, because that element is already having an ID, so I can directly use that ID, no problem at all. And then I just say this one, and then I say what? I say dot send keys. Send keys is a method that will let me search for some element, and then I say, I don't know, maybe Sony ZV-10. That's a camera, okay? And that's how we will know that this is an ID or what. That's how we will know that how to work with this element and how to enter some information. Okay, so let's first run this, okay, and then we will discuss more about it. So run as Java application. Is it running in the background? One minute. Oh, it is running somewhere. Okay, let me just try to run this again. No, it is not running actually. Because if it's running, then it will definitely show me that the Chrome browser is starting up. Yeah, here you go. Okay, so there is some problem and it just shows me that problem.
Yeah, I had this issue all last week as well because I was working on a project in work. I think it's like a 403 forbidden thing. Yeah. I don't know what happened with the Chrome driver over the last couple of days, but there's a workaround for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think you have to insert some kind of statement before you instantiate the Chrome driver.
Generally, we unable to. Yeah, so generally, what we do is we are going to just add a Chrome driver, object or object. What do you call this? The path in which the Chrome driver.exe is residing. But that is not how we did this last week. Let me just check for. Is it the newest version of Chrome driver which is creating the problem? Possibly. Okay, Chrome options. All right, good.
Yeah, you just create like an argument and you pass it through and then create the when you're creating the Chrome driver.
Remote allow origin. Okay. 1 minute. Options. I'm not able to copy this text. That's fine. Let me just quickly write it down. Chrome options. New Chrome options. Okay. Let me import this guy. All right. And then we have options dot add arguments. And then we just say remote allow origin. This is happening since last week, isn't it?
Yeah, it happened to me in the middle of work when I was showing my code to some developers. And I did not know what was going on, and we were all trying to debug it till the evening, and yeah, this turned out to be the issue.
It's possible that the newest Chrome, the browser is having some issue. That's fine.
Yeah, I remember I updated my Chrome actually prior to that, like a day or so. So I hadn't checked it since. So I think the newest version of Chrome might be the culprit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. So then what we have is, let us click on this element. Yeah. And it enters the information. Okay. That's all I wanted to show you, that it is doing its thing. But now we have to look into it from a little bit in a different level. For me, I was getting this error occurred during initial boot layer, find exception, Selenium test not found. Did you delete the module info file?
I don't think
so. It is for Ellen.
No, I just followed the steps that you were doing, and that was when I tried to run, I sort of like was getting that error.
Like right now?
I was doing it during, was it the day before yesterday? Okay. So I was trying to debug until yesterday, so I just couldn't. And so I said I'll just wait until the class comes. Okay, I'll take a look. You're getting this when you're trying to run a particular Selenium code, is it? Yes, to get driver gets HTTPS Amazon.uk. Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm getting. That's where I'm getting this error. Okay, and we'll have to see. Okay. Did you update your Selenium WebDriver into this project? Yes, I did.
Okay, I mean, when you click on this reference library, you're seeing this Selenium server, right?
Let me just Selenium reference library. Yes, I
Okay.
am 4.8.1.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, so in that case, it should be working. And are you also seeing that, have you imported these guys here?
I will try that. Yeah, I don't have that. I just only have the
Yeah, because as soon as you just put this in, I told you last week, as soon as you just put this in for this class, it will not make any sense until unless these are imported here. Like you see, I work with Chrome driver. I imported them right there, Chrome driver, Chrome options, and Selenium BY. I imported them right here, which is why I'm able to use them here, correct?
I'd only imported the middle one, the COM driver, not
Yeah.
this one which you have put today. I didn't know about it.
What about the BY one?
No. I think I will do that later
Yeah.
on, so
I
that
mean,
I won't.
it will give you an error actually. So if you just hover on the error, it will let you import. It'll give you the option to import.
Okay.
Okay, so what I'm trying to show you here is that there are two, I mean, this entire line that we are writing, have you ever thought that why are we able to write this line with this dots? Have you ever thought about that? This is very important for us to understand, not from Selenium perspective, but from using a tool like Selenium from a Java perspective. Why are we able to write this? Okay. The reason for that is very simple. That is the Chrome driver, that this driver object is coming from the Chrome, correct? Then this driver object is having an access to the find element method. So this is a method. This method is a part of Chrome driver. Under that method is accepting an argument, and the argument is a by type of argument, method with an argument of by object, you see, which is why in the find element method we are able to say by.id. So it's a by object is what is an argument that you pass on to the find element method. And then this by.id are different types of object locator strategies that you can use. For example, I can say by.xpath, you see, ID, link text, name, partial link text, tag name, xpath. I can use all of these different locator strategies to find an element for myself. Correct? So by.id is the whole situation. Okay, so there is a way that, so by is basically a class. Again, by is a class, normal Java class, and this is a static class. Okay, what is static? I'll talk about that in later on, but it's a static class. It is a static class because of that we are not creating an object of by to access its method. Like you see the difference. We created an object of Chrome driver here, and then we accessed the driver.find element. So driver is the object of Chrome driver, and then I use the method called find element, totally fine. However, for accessing the method of by, I mean, the ID is the method of by, I'm not creating any object of by. I'm not saying by equals new by. I'm not saying that. I'm directly able to access by dot any of these values. How is that possible? It is possible because by is a static class. And I'll talk about that when static comes in. But for now, you understand by is a static class. And because it is a static class, you can access its methods directly using the dot operator. You don't have to create an object of by in order to access the methods. So from that perspective, by.id comes here. Okay. All right. Now, what I'll do is I'll quickly comment out this section. And I'm just going to say till here, driver.find element by ID. That's it. This element, find element dot by ID. Okay. What exactly this returns back to me? What exactly this returns back to me? How can you find that? You can find that by hovering your mouse on the find element method. When you do that, you see something. You see that it is returning back a web element object. You see that? Web element object. You're returning back a web element object. So meaning you can say web element ELE equals to this. Just import the web element. Okay, and the web element comes here, just like that. So basically, after you finding the element, you are putting that information inside a web element. Right? You're going to put this in the web element. So this web element object, if I say ELE dot, that is where I see more information like send keys. Dot send keys. Correct? And there you say ZB10. You understand? So basically, this entire structure that I just wrote here, it is not coming out of thin air. It is coming to us with the send keys. It is coming to us because they are all related to each other. So this first part, 1 minute, I don't need this web element anymore. Okay. So this first part is basically just to find the web element. Once you find the web element, then you are able to access the method of the web element, which is send keys. That is the reason why you are able to write this big line. People keep on getting confused that how am I able to write this? And they try to mug up. You don't have to mug up. It is just logic. This part is getting you back a web element object. Under web element, you have a method called click, and you're accessing them all together in a line. That's it. All right. So that's the Selenium. I mean, that's how you find the element. All right, let's move on to the next part, which is my no. Here, 1 minute. Okay. Right. So let's move on to this part. Find element. I was talking about the find element. Okay. So why am I able to write this entire line? Okay. Next, moving on to the inspecting element. Okay. There are multiple ways you can inspect the element. Okay. And then people will do all different stuff to do it. I try to write my web element from scratch. There's another way to find an element, which a lot of people do. That is, for example, this is the element that you are trying to inspect. So right click on this, you click on inspect, and then that will take you to the input object, input tag. And then on this, you again say right click and you say copy XPath, right? And then if you do a Control F here, and then you just paste whatever you copied, just copied this. You see that? /*ID 2 tab search text box. You got this. So you see, it is the browser itself is giving you this ability to find the XPath on its own. But the point is, browser is just a tool, right? It will not give you the value in a way where it can be used for a longer period of time. You understand? I mean, this is an automated way, and it is not persistent. I mean, it will work for a day or two, but as soon as there is some changes that happens in the web page, it will fail. And there is a reason why it will fail. I will talk about that when I talk about XPath in details. So for now, that's how you find the element, okay? But other way to find the element is to write it from scratch, which I'm going to cover in a minute. Creating a basic auto-completion scenario, I just did that, and that's pretty much here. Let's move on to the next part, which is session number 8. Okay. And yeah, we will come back to the Selenium WebDriver again, but before that, we will talk about some Java stuff to make things clear for us. And this is very, very important. And after that, let me just quickly see if I have the, yeah, I have constructor. Okay, so this entire thing, 8 and 9 class is very important. So let's just go back to class number 8 and carry on from there. Okay, so what are we seeing? We are seeing if-else and nested if-else statement. I think last week I have already given you an understanding of how to use if-else. This is another recap. Okay, so for example, you have the 3 numbers, A, B, and C, right? And here we are trying to figure out which of this number is biggest. This logic is not the right logic, which I'm showing you in the screen. I'm just trying to show you that there is a way you can perform nested if-else. Because if I have to just find out the greatest number in between 3 of them, then I should be doing it along with a logical operator, which I'm not using it here. What I'm trying to show you here is just that how to create a nested if-else and nothing more than that. So you can see that you can say if A is greater than B, you're performing system.println, and then else if, so you're trying to create another condition in the second line. This is called a nested if-else. Else if, and then you can perform another operation. It is called nested if-else. Always remember, you cannot end an if-else block. You cannot end an if-else block with else if. Sorry, my bad. What I'm trying to say is you cannot end an if-else block with else if there is an else in above. So if you're not understanding, then let me try to put it like this. So if I say if A greater than B, then you perform something. Just a minute. If A is greater than B, then you perform something, right? SYSO, correct? And then you say else, then you say else, correct? Else. And then again, you say another sysout, right? And then you again, after the else is completed, then you cannot have another else if. You cannot, right? So if you have an else already in the middle, you cannot have it again. That's not what is allowed. Your last statement of your if else block can be else. Right? Keep that in mind. I'm just going to give you a simple logic for your understanding, just to understand your understanding. For example, you have a simple code here saying int a equals 10. A equals a plus 20, right? Then you have if a equals 10, right? A equals 10, then sys out success, something like that, okay? And then you say sys out a. Okay, a simple logic. Question to you is that, can you tell me in the console statement what will be printed? Can you tell me in the console what will be printed? Ellen? Any idea? Ellen, are you there? Hello?
Start to think.
Yeah.
A equals to 10, A. $30.
Okay.
Actually, it will error.
There are two printout statements, right?
I'm thinking the one which would have been success. Should we print another one? Oh yeah, there. I was going to say it was going to error because we've already done the system print out success on there. So we don't need to move on to this print out A because it's already printed out.
Why is that? You can print 10 times the same value. Why there will be an error? There won't be any error.
Oh.
You can print out n number of times. There is no error for that. Printing is just an operation where you are just printing out some value in the console. That's it. So there is no error for that. There is no error in this particular code, or there is no error that you will see when you run this program. But I'm trying to understand your logic to understand what will be that you see in the console statement. I mean console after I run this program. And you also notice that there is no else block in the if. It is just a single if. There is no else block in the if. Notice that.
A equals 10. So there'll be 10. Printed out and Not so sure.
Hassan, what do you think?
Yeah, so it will print out success first, and then it'll print out 30.
You both are wrong.
Oh,
Think about
Oh,
it.
sorry. Yeah, sorry. You're right. It'll only print out 30 because A will not be equal to 10 anymore in the if statement. Sorry, my brain's a bit foggy at the moment.
Okay, so it's simple. You come to int a equals 10, you initialize the value of a as 10. In the next line, the value of a becomes 30. In next line, you're checking if a is equals to 10 or not. So in this case, a is not 10 because a has just become 30. So there is no, this if statement will not take you inside this block at all. It will never be able to come to this block because this if statement is saying if a is equals to 10, then print this. So this entire block will be completely skipped after it is evaluated here. And then you are left out with only this statement where you get the value as 30.
so I was right then when I said that. I thought I
No,
was
you
wrong.
said right, but you didn't explain me why.
Ah,
You need to, I mean, you can definitely say the value right, but until unless your explanation is correct to the point, meaning that your logic is not building.
okay. Yeah.
Good. Okay. So then the point is that if statement can stay on its own, and this is how you create a simple nested if else. All right. The next part is switching. Okay. So switch case is different than if statement. The primary difference is that in switch case, you are working with only one single entity at a time. For example, over here in the if statement, I'm working with 3 different entities right now, as you can see, A, B, and C. And you can see I can combine them with logical operators. I can do that, correct? But in case of switch case, that is not what it is. In switch case, you're working with only one entity at a time, and which is over here as job title. It's just one entity. Okay, you are just trying to understand different values of job title, and if it is what you are expecting, then you want to perform some action. So for example, if the job title is software engineer, then you want to print out this statement. If you are carpenter, you want to print out this statement, something like that. So you're working with only one entity. There is no way you can perform a logical operation into this. That's the biggest difference between an if statement and a switch case. Also, always remember that the way the switch case is built, after every case is over, you need to fill in a break statement here. Okay, if you don't add a break, then what will happen is the way this switch case works. So for example, job title is software engineer, which means in the case, the first case matches. If it matches, it prints out this particular value. And then if you don't have a break, it will immediately go to the carpenter and print out even this. If we don't have a break here, it will print out this and this, all of them. That is how switch case is built. So you always require to add a break so that as soon as one of the case matches, it can jump out of this case block. It can jump out of the switch case block. So at the end of the day, you just want to match only one element. You just want to match only one value right? So once that value is matched, there is no point in executing any other cases, which is why you need to add a break so that you can jump out of the switch case block. I've explained that in the video with some live examples. Take a look. Okay, so moving on, access specifier, a very, very important topic, which I'll take some time to explain. And this is what it is. So let's just quickly create some packages to understand a new package. And let's create the package as access. Okay, something like that. Once I have the access specifier, I'm going to create a new file, and the file name, oh, sorry, my bad, it's a class, new class. And let's give a name to the class as, I don't know, maybe cars. Actually, you know what? Let's not do that. Let's not create things from beginning. Let's copy, right? So I have these two guys, these three guys, right? So I'll copy them all together in the access folder. Okay, I copied all of them in the access folder. And then I will do something like, I'll go to a source, and then I will say, okay, not needed. I have two packages, access package and test package. So I will move things a little bit here and there. Okay, so you see car, correct? Car is the first class. And in the car class, you have these attributes and properties, which I have explained earlier, correct? Attributes and properties. So when you have attributes and properties, right now you can see all of them are public in nature. Okay. There are three different types of access specifier that we are trying to deal with: private, public, protected, and default. All right. So the idea for making things or making an attribute or a property private is that nobody will be allowed to tamper some information. For example, think about it. I'm in the test cars, and you have added the value as Audi.brand equals Audi. Make sense? Because brand, model, engine, and seats, these four guys are what? Public attributes, which means I can go down the file somewhere here, and by mistake, I can say Audi dot brand is not Audi anymore, but it is some different, maybe Kia, or maybe what do you call this, Peugeot. Right? Because this brand is what? Public in nature, you can access that value anywhere, and knowingly or unknowingly, you can tamper its value, which will eventually break your entire code. So it is very important that what value do you want to show, what value you don't want to show. That control should be, that control should be there for a developer to make, right? So think about it. Now, if I just quickly go ahead and if I make them private, for example, I'll just stop this now and clear this now, and I'll quickly go back to the car. Is the main class. It's the actual class where you have everything public. And then what can I do? I can make them private. Can I do that? I can make them private. Private, 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 private. Make sense? As soon as I do private, what happens? There is no problem that you can see in this particular class, everything looks good because these are privates, but all these methods are public, right? Start, stop, and get details. And when I say these methods are public, these methods are accessing the brand right from the top, which is private, brand, model, and blah, 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 correct? They're all over here. Make sense? So if it is all over here, which means I'm able to access from the top of the class, then there is no problem in this particular car class. But if I take you to the test car, immediately I see that there are issues. Why? Because Audi as an object of car is not able to access brand anymore. It's not able to access brand anymore, or none of the other attributes. So what option do you have? You have to somehow pass on the value. What option do you have? One option is using separate method, which will let you set this information. You understand? Meaning, you can go back to the car class and you can create another method, something like this, public void, okay, set car info, something like that, okay? And then in the set car info, you can pass on some information. For example, string brand, string model, int seats, and double engine. Good. Once I have them here, then I can say that, okay, let's not get the brand as the same name, because if I do it, I have to talk about another concept. Or let me just talk about this concept now a little bit, and then I will explain later on. So what I'll do is I'll write this small statement called as a small keyword called as this. This dot brand equals brand. This dot model equals model. This dot seats equals seats. And this dot engine equals engine. Okay. Brand, model, seats, engine. Okay. The keyword that you see here, this, you will understand the keyword better in future. For now, just remember that whatever the value I'm trying to get within the argument of this method, so there are these arguments in the method, right? So what am I doing? All am I doing is that I am passing these values. Whatever I'll be getting under this method, I'll pass this value to the respective variable one by one. That is what I am actually doing right here inside this method. Nothing more than that. In this entire section, that's all am I doing. Correct? So next, what I'll do is I will talk about this keyword later, but for now, let's continue. So now that I have this method called setCarInfo, which means I can just call the method Audi.setCarInfo, and then you can just pass on the respective values.
So that prevents you from using those objects everywhere, that method that you have just put, right? Because the other ones are private. Right?
This is an object. Can you explain me your question one more time, please?
You say that sometimes if you don't put some of those in the template in private, it can be used everywhere, and then it causes the code to break.
It's not code to break. The code will not break, but the code will not have the right information. So what I was saying is that if you just say right here, Audi dot brand, okay, brand, and by mistake you have changed the value of brand from Audi to just say, I don't know, maybe Porsche. So then whatever the intent that you were having for using this Audi object to only hold Audi information, that intent is not there anymore, because you have by mistake added the value Porsche to the Audi brand. You understand?
Right. Yes.
Your intent is broken. The code will not break, but the intent is broken.
Ah, right. Okay.
Right. So, which is why what I'm doing is I don't want to keep my main attributes, which are actually holding the data, to be open in public.
Okay. Yeah.
I want to control the way I set the values, and later on I'll show you a even better way when I talk about constructors. I'll show you even a better way to how to set these values, so that you don't get into that mess that, okay, my data is lying open and anybody can knowingly or unknowingly change it. As a developer, you will have a peace of mind. You understand? So what I'm saying is that Audi.setCarInfo, but what just happened? Why setCarInfo is not working? Public void, yeah, that is fine. What is the error you're giving me? String in double. Oh my bad. This should be okay. I think I did mistake. So it should be 4 here, and this should be 2.2. Yeah. Okay. I just followed the exact same structure in which I have added the arguments in the setCarInfo, and I was able to see brand, model, seats, and double engine, right? Similarly, I'll just keep on doing the same for other cars. So this is your Benz dot setCarInfo, and we go exactly like that. Seats 5. This is 2.0. And I can remove that. See, I'm making my code look much more cleaner as well now. Here. This is one way of doing it, but this is not the optimal way. This is not the exact right way. The right way is coming in future. So Kia.set car info. This is doable. This is absolutely doable, but not the right way. Nero 5 1.6. Mazda I hope you get the point. 5.0. Okay, good stuff. So we have removed all the other information. So I have separated out my privates. Nobody will be able to touch it. Okay, it is quite unlikely that you will again call set car info and then you will pass on a wrong value. It is quite unlikely, but we can even fix that later on with constructor. But for now, this is what it is. So we understand the difference between public and private now. Private is something that will conservative, that is conserve your, always try to keep things private, especially the elements which are holding the data in the private level. And you can make others public, which you are going to deal with directly. Correct? So that's how it is. Let's move on to the next one. View. Where is that window? Window. Appearance, show view, project explorer. Actually, no. Oh, this is not setting back to its position. We'll do this now. How to set this back? Linked with editor here. No. Okay, I have to say this. Somehow I just one thing I can do. 1 minute. I can reset the perspective, right? There is a way to reset the perspective. Package Explorer. Okay, let's just deal with them. Okay, let's just deal with them for now. We'll see about Project Explorer later on. Yeah, this is kind of going to work out for a while. Okay, so you see, I was able to do that, right? But I'm getting now some error in the garage because in the garage, the way I am accessing the brand and model is now impacted. Why? Because brand as is an attribute and a model as an attribute is not there anymore, meaning they're all private. You see, as soon as I make them private, some of the dependent code is creating the problem for me. So how can I fix that? Somehow I have to fix that. What I can do is I can go back to my car class. I can use something called as getter. Okay, so I will just select all of them. I'll go to source. I'll say generate getters and setters. I'll click on that. I will just say select all and select getters, not select all, but select getters and generate. Select getters. Okay, I think this will work. Select getters and then I'll just say generate. Yeah. Now just see what happened. It just generated some methods. Don't get scared by looking at this code base. Let me just quickly put them right here. Okay, you see, this is nothing fancy. What you're doing is you just created a method called get brand. It's a public method, but the object of this, the main purpose of this method get brand is just to let you know the brand value. You're reading an information. You're not writing anything back. You're reading the information. What is the brand? What is the model, seat, and engine, and you're understanding them individually. You have this method right here as well called get details. And get details is doing what? Get details is getting you all of them together. But with this methods, you can access the information individually: brand, model, seats, and engine. Meaning, I can go back to my garage, and then all I can say is, you see this car to wash I, if you remember what we did earlier, then I can say dot, and I say get brand, right? And I can say get model. Do you see that? Get model. They're public, they're readable information, nobody can change anything. So I'm making my code better, isn't it? Get brand and get model. Do you understand? I individually took them out and my errors are gone now. If I go ahead and run my test card again, it should all work fine. Java application. Washing in progress, if you remember the way we did it. Yeah, all works good. But now that you understand what is private and what is public, now we will try to make a simple change, and we will make one of our element as what do you call is default. Okay, and then we will see some difference, meaning we'll go back to our car and we will do something like this. This method called set car info, okay, or maybe, wait a minute, what just happened? Okay, somehow the Eclipse stopped. All right, well, 1 minute, let me bring it back. Somehow Eclipse just crashed. Okay, so it's back now. So what I'm trying to say is that you have understood about public and private. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly make one of the element, for example, the brand and the model. I will just simply make them default, meaning I will remove this public keyword from here. Just like that, I'll remove them. As soon as I remove them, as soon as I remove access specifier, okay, go ahead. So as soon as I remove the access specifier in front of an attribute or a property, whatever it is, as soon as I do that, this becomes a default. This becomes a default access. And there's a reason why you will probably do it. For example, you have a requirement where you want to make sure that, 1 minute, you want to make sure that whatever these three classes are doing, they all should stay under one package. If that is what your intention is. If you want to keep all your elements or all your classes for a particular project under one particular package, and you don't want them to go anywhere else, you can make the attributes as default. And if you do that, and if you remove one of them, for example, this car is the class where you have this default value, right? And if I remove them to test package, you see that? As soon as I move them to test package, immediately you are seeing problem. See, the car is in test package. There is no problem in the car. Car is all good. But the way we were accessing the car in the garage is not accessible anymore. The get brand and get model is not accessible anymore. Why? Because get brand and get model is of default type. It's of default type. So meaning that if you have a default type element, they are required to stay in the same package. If not, then you will not be able to access them. Okay. So that's the difference between public, private, and default. And then there is another one called as protected, which I can explain once I talk about inheritance. Once I talk about inheritance, then it will make sense for us to understand what is protected. Okay. But any doubts so far, guys? Are there any doubt? Hassan, any doubt?
It's pretty okay so far.
It's when sort of like when you start sort of like practice, I guess.
Yeah, it's all that is all what is required.
Mhm.
There is no way you can make you can do anything without that. So that is default. Practice meaning whatever I'm doing, you have to do it on your screen, and you have to go through the same problems that we are facing.
Mhm.
That is what is called a practice.
Yes.
There is no way you can remember this by memorizing any of them.
Mhm.
Okay.
Definitely.
All right, so that's that. Let's move on to the next part, which is what? Let me actually take it back, the car, into the same package, and be fine. Okay. All right. So let's move on to the next one. Protected. I'll talk about that in a while. Java methods. You already know them. What exactly they are doing. It is basically supporting do not repeat yourself requirement. If you see a piece of code that you are thinking that can be used multiple times, put them in a method and call that method a number of times. Do not repeat yourself. Okay. Do not copy the same code over and over again. That's a bad design. All right. So we are here and we are trying to learn about inheritance. Okay. A very, very important chapter in terms of object-oriented programming. Okay. So inheritance is exactly what we know about inheritance. The properties of parent will be given to the child, is inherited to the child. That is exactly how we intend to use inheritance in programming as well. I would like to build on top of what I have built already with the cars. Okay, I would like to build on top of it. And then it will make sense to you that why we will actually require an inheritance. Okay. So let's think about it. You have, let me close everything else. Let's just have only car. Good. Now just think about it very simply that yes, I'll open the car and then I'll open the test car. Okay. Let me keep them side by side. Okay. I have a test car where I am actually creating the object of Audi and Benz and Kia and blah, blah, blah. And I have the car class, which is a template using which I'm able to create all these different objects. Okay. Now, just think for 1 minute and tell me that these objects that we are creating, are they actually different than each other? Technically, they are. Why? Because they are having different locations in the memory space, not because of the data. No, they are different because they are sitting in different memory locations inside the Java virtual machine, right? JVM memory. I spoke to you about heap and stack. That is why they are different. Each and every object is sitting in a different memory location. That's why they're different. They're not different because of the data. But the point is, even if you consider the data, are they actually different? I mean, are they actually different in terms of its characteristics? They are not. Think about it. You have created a template called car. This car is a simple car, which is having few properties. What are the properties? Simple, start and stop, right? And then you have some other methods there, which is basically to get the information about each and every component of the car, like the brand and model and blah, 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 right? But it is just a template again, and it is just doing two things, ideally, starting and stopping. All these Audi objects, Audi and Benz and Kia and Mazda, BMW, all of them, sadly, they are also tightly coupled with the car template, meaning these guys have no other feature other than starting and stopping. Think about it. Is that right or wrong? It is right. They cannot do anything else. But what if you have a situation where the Audi is differently started than the way Benz is started? Or you have Kia, which runs on electricity and petrol, where the Benz that I'm talking about, it is having just petrol. I mean, that will actually make the difference, isn't it? But that is not what we can achieve with this current setup. Why? Because everything is driven from one single stupid template, which is a car template, which has its bare minimum structure of a car. That is very common to every car. But how do you make a car different from the other? Like literally different. How do you make them different from each other? You cannot. Until you think of object-oriented programming concept, and that is inheritance. Whatever I just said, do you believe it is true? I mean, do you believe that whatever I'm saying, it is the correct, right? Every other elements that we have created, Audi, Benz, Kia, Mazda, they are all derived. They're all derived of what? Car. They're no different from the car template. That means they don't have any special power. Isn't that right? Hassan, Ellen?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yes. Yeah.
So I need to do something to give them the special powers. How? That is exactly where it comes to inheritance, meaning, so these concepts that I'm talking about, guys, these are the building block of your career in programming. You have to understand that why am I using it? What is the main purpose of using it? And then when the right requirement comes in, you have to choose whether you want to use inheritance or another concept to tackle a particular situation, right? So in this particular case, inheritance is the right situation. I want to give special powers to my cars, meaning I can go ahead and I can create now my own car, which is new Java class, and I'm going to say Audi. This is a new brand class called Audi. Simple. I can create another class called as new class, and let's name this class as what? Maybe Kia. Good. I added refactor rename Kia. Okay. Now I created two of these classes, Audi and car, Audi and Kia. By looking at these classes, are they car? Are they car? They're nothing right now. They are absolutely nothing right now. They're just simple class with two names, Audi and Kia, but they are blank. They have nothing right now. They are no way considered as a car until I make them as a child of my car template. How? Simple. I use the keyword called extends. I'm extending this class to what? Car. That's how I created the parent and the child relationship. I have Audi extends car, and I made them what? Child of the car. So if I draw this to you right now, understanding inheritance, what we were able to achieve is ideally a hierarchical inheritance, as I mentioned here. Look. I can't draw. What happened? Okay. Something happened. I can't draw. Just a minute. Let me reshare. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So we just achieved this guy here. I have Audi, I have Kia. They are connected to car. That is what we achieved here. Okay. So the point is that how is it actually helping me? There are different types of inheritance, A, B, C, or A and B, where it is single and multi-level inheritance. But then we have this one also, class A, class B, class C. Both of them are connected to class A. Possible? Okay. So next, what do we do? How this is going to help me? So what I'm going to do is now, I'm going to give special powers to my car. How? As soon as I actually created an object of, sorry, as soon as I actually extended a Audi to a car, it becomes the child of the car, meaning whatever I have as a part of the car class is inherited to the Audi class. So brand, model, seats, engine, set car info, blah, 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 everything is now present as a part of Audi class. Correct? So what we can do is we can now give a special power to the Audi class And that can be something like this. Public void start with proximity sensor. Yeah. That is a method which Audi is specially having. Okay, I can go sys out. And then I can say get brand, look, get brand plus get model, okay, plus starting with proximity. What is proximity sensor? It's very simple. As soon as you go near to the car starts on its own. Correct? That's what is there as a part of my Audi car. Something which is not there for any other car, but only for the Audi car. I am able to make the difference. And you can see this, the get brand and get model is accessible to me from the car. Why? Because car is my parent. I can access them, no problem at all. On the other hand, Kia is having another option, which is public void. It's not about, I mean, Kia doesn't have anything to do with a special starting mechanism, but it can run on electricity and petrol. So this is what do you call is transmission? No, I'll say fuel type, I believe. Fuel type, right? So we can just say runs on fuel. Okay, so we can just say this out, and the same thing, get brand plus get model. Okay, and then we have plus what do? We say runs on fuel type, so we will just go runs on petrol and electric. Make sense? They have two different characteristics which are absolutely different from each other, but they are all considered under one car. Now, how do we test it? We can test it something like this. We can go back to our test cars. We are not going to access Audi object or Kia object, meaning I will just simply comment this out. I'll comment this out too. And I have this error now, load cars and blah, blah, blah. So let's not test this part. I'll just quickly remove them. All I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create an object of Kia and Audi. So I can just write Audi, because I have a class now. I can just say Audi equals new Audi. I'm creating directly an OD object. Look, I'm creating directly an OD object. Now, because OD is an object of, OD is a type of car, which means I can go and say OD dot what? Set car info. Look, I can access set car info as a part of OD. Why? Because set car info is a part of car, and car is OD's parent. So I can access that, meaning whatever I added here, just like that, and copy and paste it. And it will work, correct? Which means I can definitely go ahead and say OD dot start car. You see, I'm able to access start with proximity sensor, correct? OD dot start car. No, start. You see, start. I can access start method, and I can also access OD.stop method. Why? Because start and stop is coming from car. This guy is coming from the child, right? Oh, sure, Hassan, no problem at all. That's fine. We will finish it up in a few minutes. We'll come back to it next week again. That's fine. Thank you so much.
Next week.
Yeah. So the point is that OD.start proximity sensor, that is going to start the OD with the proximity sensor, but at the same time, it can also start with as a normal car. Okay. And if you just want to have only one call to the OD, which is start with proximity sensor, you can do that. And if I run this program now, run as Java application, if I do it now, then you can see ODA3 starting with proximity sensor and ODA3 is stopping. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
So that is how inheritance works. Similarly for Kia, I will exactly do that. Okay. I can just say Kia equals new Kia, and same Kia.set car info. Just copy and paste. We have it ready, and then Kia is having access to Kia.start. Correct? Kia can run, if you want to get some information about how it runs, runs on fuel type, and Kia stop, whatever. Correct? And I run them, and it all works fine. Look. The best part is you will exactly know from the Eclipse itself that which method is coming from which class. For example, you see Kia dot runs on type, right? Look, it says runs on fuel type void Kia. So it is coming from Kia class. You know that. However, if I just say dot stop, you see, start and stop, they're coming from car class, and you can see that too. You see? So you can very well understand from where the method is coming from, whether it's coming from the parent or from the child. This is inheritance. And it is related to what I was supposed to show you, but as Hassan is leaving, I think I'm going to just quickly finish up the inheritance and close the class, and then we'll come back to it next week again. But the idea is that you have multiple ways to establish inheritance. The one is which we just see here, hierarchical B and C pointing to A. CBA, that means the child class can have multiple parents in multiple level. You have class A, you have class B, and class C. So class A's properties are inherited by class B. Class B's properties are inherited by class C. That is another way of doing it. And you have also obviously have single inheritance. Class B's class A's properties is inherited by class B. That is obviously possible. However, this part is not possible. You see, you have just one class which is inheriting from two parents. Not possible. At least whatever we have learned so far, with that it is not possible. This is possible with later from a different concept. But for now, whatever we have learned, it is not possible. We are not able to do this also, hybrid. So class D is pointing to class A and class B and C, and class B and C is coming from class A. Not possible. Correct? So this part is not possible, but this other things are possible, which is what is all about inheritance. And then we come back next week to understand about protected, because we have to just talk about this protected access specifier, and I'll show you the difference between protected and default. Do you want to see it in 5-10 minutes? I can quickly finish that.
I'll have to bounce now. Sorry.
That's
I need
fine.
to
That's
get to
fine.
the
That's
bed.
fine. That's fine. That's fine. Totally fine. So
Sorry.
let's come back next week and we'll continue from there then.
Thanks so much.
That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, Ellen. I think you were also not having time to do in the morning, right? So we can close the
Yes.
class early and then we'll come back.
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, normally Sunday I go to church on Sunday morning, so I just thought, yeah, I'll just
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I was wondering, did you see? I didn't get the receipt. I was wondering if the
Yeah. The invoice receipt, I'll send it to you. I'll send it.
okay, all right. I was just worried that maybe it didn't clear.
No. It cleared. I'll send it to you.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much. for
Tomorrow
that.
I'll do that. Okay. All right.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Take care.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Asan.
Hassan left.
Oh, he's gone. Okay, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
See you next week. Yeah.